best friends are scientists. So I just want to make one small, quick point.
Okay.
Be gentle with me, I'm a little nervous. I believe I heard you say earlier that things that you can't observe directly, like sea lions losing their limbs as they move into the water, over time, those kinds of things are fairy tales. Is that correct?
Well, no, he said, if a sea lion keeps going back to the water, which they do, that's going to prove that they, are losing legs and gaining fins. That's proof that sea lions are designed to live in water like they do. They do pretty good in the water.
How was it that you described that it was a fairy tale?
Well, he was talking about how whales came from some kind of land-based animal and moved into the water and lost their legs. I said, well, you can believe that, but that's not, we don't observe that.
And why, we don't observe that, so it's a fairy tale, right?
It's something that takes place in the imagination.
I see.
People believe these animals make these changes. They never see them.
Because they're not directly observed.
Well, right. So if it takes millions of years, it's now not part of science, it's part of a fairy tale.
So it's occurred to me that you've been making this claim multiple times through the evening that things that are not directly observed are not scientific.
That's the definition of science. It's observable, testable.
But science actually consists of a lot of things that are not directly observed, that are indirectly observed and are inferential. So I'm just going to leave that at that, but I would actually like to say that you're actually being inconsistent, because earlier you said that the Genesis story was a good story and that the Bible was a good story, and I don't think that you were 6,000 years old, so I don't think that you have directly observed. Well, I'm a very new lawyer.
I'm not asking for the Genesis account to be taught.
No, but I would like you to distinguish it from a fairy tale, because you've said that things that are not directly observable are not science and are therefore fairy tales. And I would like you to distinguish the Genesis account of creation from a fairy tale.
The difference we have with the Genesis account is we have an eyewitness observer.
But you do not have any direct evidence. You have not directly observed it, and you cannot.
You don't have any evidence that Abe Lincoln was president 125 years ago.
That's right. So according to your logic, that's a fairy tale.
No.
All I'm saying is that according to your logic, Genesis is a fairy tale, and Lincoln is a fairy tale, and evolution is a fairy tale. All of those are fairy tales.
Science is things we can observe, test, or demonstrate. I think
and we do observe and test and demonstrate. We have indirect observations as well as direct observations, and that's what justifies science.
Would you tell me, as a lawyer,
Genesis is distinguishable from science because it is not directly observable by anybody.
Okay, as an attorney, I would like to know.
I'm happy to.
What is your best evidence for evolution?
I'm not a scientist. I don't have this evidence.
I'm not asking for creation to be taught.
Why it's called religion?
Woven together a wide tissue of science.
I know it's a huge fairy tale. I agree. We got to work on this, and I'm working on it. Okay.
Conspiracy, and I'm not.
It's a big conspiracy. You're right. Go ahead. Last question. We're gonna have to quit. Oh, I got to get the next guy though. I mean, we got to be out of here in 6 minutes.
Yeah. Well, there's enough of us we can hold the janitors out.
Okay. Hurry. Come in.
I'm Sarah, and so I just want to ask a question. Like you like to back it up, and I'm getting that your main concern, because I don't consider you necessarily a scientist or a theologian. You're an educator. You're also a parent who's concerned about children learning things in school that are lost.
Right.
I'm a scientist and an educator. I'm also a parent. I'm also, as any parent would be, concerned about their children in school learning lies.
Good.
So one thing that I'm confused about is I don't understand why you have chosen to bias yourself in trying to write only certain lies that are in textbooks. Actually, because as we all know, there are many lies across disciplines in textbooks. One of the major jobs of educators these days, going through many versions of textbooks, is to try to remove things like loaded questions. And this is something that is not only in the biological sciences. This is a problem in all disciplines.
I agree.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is...
Why am I biasing myself to this one? I taught science 15 years. This is my expertise. There's too many dragons to slay. I only got time to kill this one.
But there are so many other things that are so much more damaging.
You're an educator.
I'm a scientist.
Okay, then find somebody who's a mathematician and fix the math books, and find an English person and fix the English books. We got a lot of work to do.
But you're concerned about children and lies being in textbooks, and that sounds like the most important thing to you. So there are a lot of lies, like Native American Indians, like bias and questions about ethnicity and socioeconomic standards. There are many, many, many bias in textbooks, and I feel like what you should do is probably focus on that and on education, And so why expend so much of your energy on debates in science and evolution, which you're not as well qualified for, since you are an educator of basic educational curriculum?
Well, I guess everybody has to pick which dragons they want to slay, and this is the one that bothers me because it has so much bigger implications.
But why wouldn't you slay the dragons you're most qualified for?
Let me answer your question. Because this evolution theory is not just a dumb theory, it's a dangerous theory.
And why do you feel that way?
This is exactly what motivated Adolf Hitler to kill the inferior species, the Jews and the blacks. This is precisely this theory, evolution.
You're talking about social evolution, which many people disagree with.
That's the result.
Not disagree.
Okay, we've got to get out of here. I'll tell you what, let's schedule another time. I'll come back. I love this place. I mean, this is great.
I still don't get your answer. You're not answering why you're choosing to slay dragons that you're not as well qualified.
Why does anybody choose any field of work? Why do people decide to be physicians instead of janitors? I mean, I decided to do this. It's my business. It doesn't matter to you.
But you're not choosing to listen to experts in their field to help guide you in these wars against bias questions in textbooks.
I'm listening to... Okay, we got not enough time to cover all night here tonight, but I would like the next guy to ask a question. I think I did answer your question. I can choose whatever I want for my life.
I don't think you did. But
I'm not asking taxpayers to pay my salary. I can do whatever I want with my life.
But you're okay with taxpayers paying money for textbooks in history that talk about other problems.
I'm not okay with that either. I just don't have time to say that right. I don't have time to say that right. Okay? Now, I'm so glad you came. 8 years ago in Canada, when I pulled out my pocket knife and volunteered... I want to explain something now. I pulled out my Swiss Army knife and said... if you think the tailbone is vestigial... Are you getting this on video, guys? You're getting this on video. I'm just refreshing your memory, okay? I said, I will cut yours out if you'd like, if you think it's vestigial. You then wrote an article in your paper saying that I threatened you with a pocket knife. Is that right?
Do you think it is an appropriate response to a scientific question to wave a pocket knife at somebody? Is that a reasonable response?
Is it appropriate for you to lie and say I threatened you with my pocket knife? You were 75 feet away, son. I don't want your tailbone, okay? You keep it.
I want to ask a question that I can't...
I just wanted that on the record, though. Go ahead. Now, let's hear your question. You want to make a speech or ask a question? Quick.
I'm going to ask a couple of very simple questions. Okay. Earlier, I heard you say to my friend Laura that, look, you're not asking for the story of Genesis to be taught in schools.
Correct.
I personally, at Hovind, did not directly observe Genesis. It's my religion.
Yeah, I believe God created the world in 6 days, 6,000 years ago. I believe that.
That is a religion.
Correct. I believe that's a religion. I call it a religion.
And you're saying that, since creation and evolution are both religions, neither of them should be taught
Right.
on tax money.
Right.
Okay.
You got it. Good.
I understand what you're trying to say. Now, your lectures and your ministry
Is not tax funded.
is not tax funded.
Good.
It teaches the literal story of Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You believe
Absolutely.
that the earth was created 6,000 years ago by God, exactly as it was in the first chapter of Genesis.
Correct. I believe that story. Absolutely correct. Go
All
ahead.
right.
You got it. You got it. Okay.
And I want everybody to pay really close attention. Okay, this guy just said Genesis is his religion,
Right.
and that is what he teaches in his ministry. Okay, now I'm going to ask a really simple question. Pay attention. Okay. What is the name of your ministry?
Creation, science, evangelism.
What is the word science doing in that name? Could you remove it, please?
No. Science. Here's the thing. Science
They
is...
are both religions, right? You said that yourself. Neither of them should be taught in schools because they're both religions.
Well, then why are we teaching evolution in a biology class?
Get back to my question. My question is, why are you misusing the name science in the name of your ministry? If you were honest, you would simply say, look, I believe in God. I'm not afraid